Captain Riker, Kirk said. Is there any reason to believe the Romulan military is involved in Spock's murder? Kirk's last two words were almost lost to the sudden dry.
Let's not do this right now. Let's do another episode of the Tech, and we'll put your voice acting career on hold.
It's better than his writing career.
I like your Picard impersonation better.
Shatter impersonation's not really worth a shat.
Some people refer to him as the Shat.
As the shat?
Yeah. He's kind of a local.
Yeah, he is. Are we supposed to know that? Is that secret?
Yeah, it is.
He walks around Lexington without his toupee and all that?
Yeah, the most interesting thing that happened to him is that there was a shooting at the Lexington Green, and he was trapped in the parking lot, and they wouldn't let him leave. And he was like, "Do you know who I am? I'm William Shatner. I didn't shoot anybody." They're like, "I'm sorry, sir. You have to wait."
Anyway, we should talk about stuff. So we were going to give away a motherboard, an Asus Z87 Deluxe dual motherboard.
Hey, we didn't forget. How about that?
Oh my God. Yeah, we did not forget. Phantom is the winner.
Yeah, we did a randomly choose things in the thread thing, and so I guess it kind of worked out that if you replied a whole bunch in that thread, you had a higher chance of winning. But
well, there was one prerequisite. We wanted to make sure that people weren't just saying like, "I want a motherboard that comes with a ketchup dispenser and a toaster." We kind of ruled those out, and as long as it was, we picked randomly, and it was like, "Hey, is this legitimate?" Yeah, this one is legitimate.
I was actually surprised at how many people were requesting things that Asus does actually have on their motherboards, just in a different channel.
Yeah, not from this generation, but from also the current generation and the last generation.
Yeah, it was like, I want all these features, and I have this board, and it's like, well, you just need the workstation board, and the workstation board has that feature.
Yeah, the Asus people need to jump on this and be like, answering with links. I'll let them do it.
Yeah.
Because it's educational.
Yeah, pretty much.
Especially if you want something and it's already available, why not know about it?
I want a board that has these features. And it's like, okay, there you go. It's like, I want a fantastic ITX board that has everything on it. Well, yeah, stay tuned.
So congratulations to Phantom. Pretty cool picture there. I like this picture. It's very cool.
You need to message us through the site, blah, blah, blah. And it'll probably take us about 2 weeks to get that to you. So,
Yeah. Because we're not going to give you the one with the bent pen. There's one that had a bent pen. Zweihander, I'm still working on the new album. I've got like 900 videos to edit, but some days I stay late until like 3 in the morning and put 10 notes onto one song, but it's so close to being finished, guys. So thanks a lot for supporting the music, and for all you guys out there who think that I really hate torrents, you guys realize that I was joking, right? And that's all I'm going to say about that.
And we also have Beer Games Beer. Many people are patiently waiting for the next chapter of The Dig.
I think she had it edited, but I don't know if she's uploaded it. Oh, by the way, we sat down and talked about Beer Games Beer. All of our video game reviews, and from now on, Pistol's What to Play segment is going to be on Beer Games Beer. So she's going to be doing that on, and I'll mention, like each week. I think this week she's doing the Hunter or something like that. They just added multiplayer support. It's like the most realistic hunting game, and I was making fun of her about it. Then I watched it for a little while, and when she streams the Hunter, she gets like more viewers than when she's streaming like anything else. But there's something interesting about this game. It's actually different, so you'll probably want to check that video out as soon as possible.
That channel again is Beer Games Beer.
And you should subscribe. I did. And look how happy I am.
We're just so popular. Yeah, we actually have more stuff coming even. It's crazy.
We've got so much Asus stuff, it's ridiculous.
We don't want to spam the channel with 800 videos. We want to make it easy for you guys to pick what you want to watch.
I'm trying to do like one a day, but I'm kind of neglecting. I really want to do a video on this. This is like the next thing I want to do a video on, this gaming series, Memory from A-Data. It's 2600 megahertz, and I like it.
It's crazy.
I think it's really cool looking. I mean, there's a lot of different memory modules out there. 2600 megahertz memory can tend to be really expensive. This one's not that expensive, and I just like the look of it. It's like sleek. I don't know.
Well, we've been using it to test motherboards, and it turns out that a lot of motherboard designs don't really support 2600.
Well, that and Haswell seems to have a rough chance. If you're overclocking Haswell, you better have a really good chip if you want to get an overclocked CPU and 2600 speed RAM. You're gonna have to downclock the RAM if you want to hit the highest speeds, or you're gonna have to do one. It's gonna be a trade-off.
Yeah, in testing we've run into some bizarre issues where we can overclock, but we can't get the memory past 1333, and that's like a normal thing apparently.
Yeah, I've been having pretty good success getting it around 2100. 2133, 2400 even on one of the machines over there. So
yeah, as long as you don't have an extreme overclock, it's okay.
Best Buy is going to be carving out some space for Microsoft stores.
So I guess the Surfaces were selling okay then.
Yeah.
No.
2 reasons not to go to Best Buy, because it's Best Buy and because there's a Microsoft store. 3 reasons, and there's an Apple Store. 4 reasons, because the employees don't give a shit. They can pay by the hour. They can just juggle all day and they're like, hey, I don't know. Look at that. Look at that. They're going to be suing trash can manufacturers everywhere. The Mac Pro has been unveiled. It is like, what would they call it? The Braun coffee machine?
The Braun coffee machine and or the Braun coffee pot and or the Braun trash can.
Braun trash can. It's some kind of German design something. I want some of the features in this thing. What happened to it? Their flash has failed or whatever they're using to... I had to reload the website. I don't know what it is. What are they using here? What is
rogue
this?
ad took out your flash trying to give you a virus.
Is this Flash or is this JavaScript? It can't be Flash because I've got Flash block enabled. What is this that they're using?
I don't know. I did the teardown of that thing looks crazy. It looks like they've stapled a Socket 2011 CPU onto 2 Fire GL Pros or something. No,
Really?
Fire Pros?
What?
Is it Fire? I can't remember. ATI Fire Pro?
I could, yeah. They could be 7970s. I don't even know. I want something this small with 4 RAM slots. That's what I want. But I don't want it to look like that, and I don't want it to be an Apple.
And only 1 mini PCIe slot for a hard drive. Just 1. Even though there's room for 2.
I kind of want to buy this and pull it all apart and put it in my own case. Maybe that Lee & Lee briefcase.
Oh,
Suitcase,
yeah.
You see?
No.
I want the 4 slots of RAM, but I want it to be small.
It's a mini ITX Socket 2011. No.
Yeah, that's going to be like a mini ITX next gen, whatever the 9750 or whatever the new AMD is, the one that draws 200 watts.
Dollars to donuts, some Apple engineers were asking if they could insert the RAM long ways. I think history is repeating itself. See, after Steve Jobs left the company, a bunch of engineers were like, we're going to do Mac on our own. And then they came out with the 25th anniversary Mac, and it was a complete failure. It cratered spectacularly. And I can't help but notice how much the new Mac Pro looks like the old 25th century, or 25th edition.
25th century?
I can't help but notice how much the 25th anniversary edition of the Mac looks like the new Mac Pro.
It's pretty ugly still.
Yeah.
But that's not that old of a machine. I mean,
that's
2000
Apple.
And what, 2007, something like that?
No, the 25th anniversary. Yeah, I guess so. It's not really that old.
Somewhere in that range. Yeah, it's not that old.
So Steve Jobs dies, and they immediately go back to the old design because it worked so
guess.
well the first time.
This is going to be powerful. I mean, if they can keep the heat down, but I don't even understand it.
What?
I'll wait till it comes out before I say anything about the heat.
One thing about the press release that's interesting is they said it was 12-core server class, blah, blah, blah. Intel doesn't have a server class thing. They may have accidentally spilled the beans on a 12-core Ivy Bridge E part coming up that is as yet unannounced.
Well, whatever this thing is they're running keeps crashing. Maybe it's running some bad script or something. I've got
It's probably running on one of the new Mac Pros and it's having a heat issue.
It's overheating because I'm trying to load the images.
I can't imagine that it would work well having 2 GPUs and a CPU sharing the same heatsink. I mean, that would have to be some serious cooling. Maybe it's well engineered, but they're probably assuming that you're only going to be using GPU or CPU bound workloads and not both at the same time.
Have you seen the time?
It's rant 30 already?
Oh, it's going to be rant 30 for quite a while. Now, right now we're in the middle of a media frenzy, and a lot of it's because of Snowden. So he's kind of given the entire country a snow job, and couldn't help it. I could not help it.
I need a snow job action figure.
So he's in Hong Kong. They don't know where he is. Earlier today, an article came out, and they said that Snowden may not actually have been who he said he was. And, people are saying that this is going to be like a stolen valor thing, and they want to try him, for whatever. And they said that some of the guys at the CIA said that there is no way. Michael Hayden, he's former NSA and CIA director, said that there is no way that he actually had the access that he says that he did. He says that it's absolutely outrageous, and he wants to make sure that everyone knows that someone who's sitting at a computer at their company cannot just have access to this information. In fact, there's only a few people that actually do have access to all of this private data.
Which is kind of disturbing that they're like, oh, well, this is all legit, but he didn't have, I don't understand.
Yeah, so that's what they're doing. They're making him look like an idiot. But nobody is denying any of this stuff. In fact, even President Obama came out, and what was he being kind of tough when he was saying, listen, if the American people can't handle us spying on them and they don't trust us, well, we're going to have some issues.
Yeah, it was really disturbing. It sounded like he was saying that if the American people really looked at the program they wouldn't have a problem with it. And it's like, well, we're trying, Mr. President.
Why don't you show us the program? Yeah, if you guys could see all of this top secret stuff, you'd be like, oh, this is totally cool, and we think this is good for our country, but we can't show you any of that
All right,
stuff that would make you.
Let's take a look
reassured.
at it. I mean, can we see it?
No, it's secret. We'll have to kill you.
Can we take a look? Can we know what you're doing? Can we at least see the secret court orders?
It was a really interesting post. We were in the middle of like putting everything together, and then
we wanted to draw attention to the FBI side of things more than the NSA, and then we found this post on Reddit, and it's like,
from the angry ranting realist, who also was writing an interesting book about this, which I'm going to plug for him because this is a really, really good article, and you guys should check it out. He basically goes through, covers just everything, who the NSA is, what they're doing.
We've got better references than he does in the article, but he does have a lot of references, and it would behoove you to check those out.
Mm-hmm. Now, the bottom line here is yes, they are collecting all of this data, and that's not the problem. This is not a privacy issue. This is an ethics issue. It's all about the ethics because human beings are involved, and human beings have access to this data. Now, at the NSA, there were instances where people were using this to spy on their wives and spy on people, and they were fired. Now the FBI has access to this data, and the NSA, maybe they weren't abusing it as much, but the problem was really that they actually had access to it. Now that the FBI has access to it, they're abusing it.
The problem with this type of data is that human beings can't make rational decisions about it. The temptation of using this data is too great. And the signal-to-noise ratio here really isn't that good.
As we've known, the NSA has had a database of this kind of stuff for a long time. And there's a USA Today article from 2006 saying that the NSA has a massive database of our phone calls.
Google's done two things.
Yeah, they've done two interesting things. Google.
The first thing, before all this broke, they were fighting overly broad requests from the FBI, and they went to court and they said, these are judicial requests. There's no warrant. This is just a request for data. We want to refuse these because there's no warrant. And it's just an administrative request. We don't want to comply with the request.
And that's when the judge said, no, you have to comply.
Yes, exactly. No warrant.
No questions, no warrant. You have to comply.
But they have to comply. And then Google's like, well, can we talk more about it? Can we make it public? And the judge was like, well, no, not really. The records of the court case were partially sealed, but the judge sort of invited them to appeal on more specific grounds. That hasn't happened yet. But then after that, this whole NSA thing broke.
So you're telling me that there's a secret court with secret proceedings, and then the results are secret as well?
Yeah,
that's not the way things have ever been.
Secret courts are bad. Well, FISA has been around since the 70s, and a lot of this stuff has been happening in the FISA court.
But usually once the results, of the case are figured out, those results are public.
That would be nice. I mean, in a democratic society, it would be nice to, face your accuser. It would be nice if that were codified somehow.
Well, what did I do? Well, we can't tell you. Well, what's the verdict? Oh, we can't tell you, but we're going to have to shoot you. I don't understand.
Well, that actually happened with some drone strikes. We sent in some killer robots with missiles, and they took out an American citizen in 2011.
Well, that's the real problem here, because all this data is being aggregated. And, of course, they're looking for terrorists, but, more toddlers this year have killed people in this country, in America, than terrorists have in this country, America. More toddlers have shot people.
The other argument you hear with this is that if you're not doing anything wrong, you have nothing to hide. And that argument really, you need to read some stuff by Bruce Schneer, but that argument really concedes too much ground. The fatal assumption that argument makes is what you think is wrong is what someone who's in charge of your database thinks is wrong. So, what about jailbreaking a phone? You probably don't think that's wrong. But what if you're in a database for jailbreaking your phone? You go to it's not inconceivable that you would show up in some database. And so you don't really have any right to argue what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. It concedes too much ground to say, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, then you have nothing to fear, because what you're doing that might be wrong is in the eye of the beholder.
Now, Google being Google, they really want transparency, but the DOJ will not let them talk about any partnerships between the NSA and Google that's going on behind the scenes. They are getting all kinds of FISA requests. We're talking like tens of thousands, not millions here. Not millions like a lot of people think, and it's not like a lot of people are reporting. So many news websites are reporting that Google is almost like another government branch now.
And FISA requests tend not to be very, very broad. And Google has said that they push back against really broad FISA requests. And they just came out and said that for the FISA requests, they upload responsive data to a secure FTP server. That doesn't sound like direct access to me.
No, it does sound like Google is having to collect the data based upon the request and then send it away. Now,
the question becomes then, how would the government go about monitoring this stuff if they don't have direct access to Google stuff?
We don't need a tinfoil hat for this anymore. Room 641A. So there's a room somewhere that can read all the traffic that comes and goes. And that's
Yeah.
what they do. They just collect the data. And of course, they're building that $2 billion facility in Utah to do just this. It's actually going to be storing most of the data, so it'll be collecting and storing data.
Now, room 641A, that's an AT&T wiring closet, but it's a major data hub that's like in San Francisco. And there's a Wikipedia article about it. And this goes back, way back a long time ago to
2003.
some really early NSA whistleblowers saying that all the internet traffic is still routed this way, but a copy is sent here to the government for analysis. And so that covers all the unencrypted internet traffic.
Yeah, so this started operating in 2003, and then that leak that you just mentioned happened in 2006. Now, the big problem is that a lot of the big problem for the NSA is that a lot of the traffic out there is encrypted. There's SSL on a lot of things. So
Google
they
recently
can't really get past that, can they?
Well, in the last 2 years, Google has switched to SSL, but until from 2003 until 2 years ago, Gmail wasn't encrypted. Google searches weren't encrypted. These are all really recent changes.
Go and type https://yahoo.com and see what happens.
Oh,
Yahoo forces non-encryption. like our website forces encryption. We've got 2K encryption, and we force you. If you type in techsyndicate.com, it's going to reroute you to HTTPS.
So the question for us was, okay, so the NSA has these monitoring rooms like 641A, probably, maybe. This is an old article. We're just piecing this together. We're just spitballing here. But they have these rooms where they monitor the internet, and that gets them unencrypted traffic. Well, what about encrypted traffic? And then we started thinking about SSL. SSL is kind of hardened against some things, but if the NSA's compromised the certificate authority or the encryption's weak, then maybe not. And it turns out there are commercial boxes that companies can buy.
Yep, let's see if I can find one of those boxes here. There it is right there. So they buy these boxes, and this box, you install it in a location, and it tells all the, it basically, your computer trusts this box.
Yes.
So this box will decrypt, have everything in plain text.
That box issues an SSL certificate for Google.com that doesn't belong to Google. And so you connect to that box, and that box issues a certificate to Google. And because your computer trusts that, it's like, oh, that's Google's SSL certificate. Meanwhile...
It's not Google,
no.
But you've got some packet forensics SSL certificate.
Meanwhile, the box is connecting to Google and getting your stuff. That might be what happened with Petraeus. Like if Petraeus was using a government computer, he's the guy that had the mistress scandal and had to step down and blah, blah, blah.
He was not sending emails through Gmail. He was actually just typing a draft and then saving the draft. His mistress was logging under the same username with the same credentials and looking at the draft.
So maybe if he happened to use a government network, maybe it was something like that, because you wouldn't even know if the machine was configured to trust that box. But we made another interesting discovery, and that is Google's SSL is only 1 kilobit, which is relatively weak.
As is Facebook's.
As is Facebook's. Mm-hmm. And so what if the NSA has compromised SSL? If the NSA's compromised 1 kilobit SSL, or they have a way of breaking 1 kilobit SSL, unless Google is changing their keys a whole bunch, then the NSA would be able to decrypt that SSL traffic.
And like 15 years ago, the NSA, they had a backdoor with Lotus Notes.
This is really interesting. Lotus Notes is from like 1997.
And they could crack the encryption on Lotus Notes.
Well, it was more insidious than that. They, in order for Lotus to be able to do export, so there's like a 128-bit encryption key, Lotus agreed to set the first 40 bits of that encryption key to something the NSA knew, which effectively reduced the key space for the NSA.
10,000 times easier.
Yeah, it made it to where that a 486 from 1985 could crack that thing in like an hour.
Yeah. So you can imagine what today's computers could do with that same certificate. Now, Ray Ozzie, he's even, you guys can check this out, but he even spoke out about this.
Well, in light of the recent things, he actually hopped on Y Combinator and commented about this specific thing because he worked on that project. And so This is really interesting to read. And he also talks about how open they were about that at the time. He's like, I actually presented at a conference and explained that this is what we did to satisfy the government, and it was an open thing. People talked about it. It wasn't secret.
Now, Ray Ozzie, in case you do not know who he is, he's one of the, he was the head, technical guy or technical developer and software developer at Microsoft from, I think, 2005 to 2010.
He's a smart guy.
Yeah. So when he speaks, you listen. Just like when Waz speaks, you listen.
I just thought it was awesome to hear him weigh in and say that this was not a secret thing. They talked about this. This was a documented thing, that the government had a key in their program.
All right, so let's say that they've cracked SSL. Aren't they going to need a lot of choke points around the country?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be convenient if a slide had just leaked onto the internet with all these different choke points pinpointed?
Oh, no. Look at that. It sure does look that way, doesn't it?
Yes, that's the slide. So there's that.
So if you wanted to gather massive amounts of data about the internet, that would be how you do it.
And let's see the next thing up on the. Oh yeah, Mozilla also. They're a little bit worried. And
Well, Mozilla is pissed off with these companies that are selling these boxes to other companies to circumvent SSL encryption. Mozilla is super pissed about that.
yeah, because it's not true SSL encryption. It totally defeats the purpose of the encryption. So Mozilla wants to revoke all of the incoming certificates that are not like the true certificates, and they want that built into their browser.
Yeah, they want the browser to sort of audit the SSL certificates and warn you when you've got a certificate for Google that's not actually the real certificate for Google, which is kind of awesome.
That's going to piss off a lot of people. Like,
It is.
hey, you're
What's
like, that's like
happening?
jumping up and down on someone's sandcastle. That's what Mozilla's doing. They're jumping up and down on the NSA sandcastle.
Now, we're not suggesting that the NSA on the public internet or any other organization on the public internet has something to intercept and strip SSL. But in a sting operation or during an investigation or on their internal machines, it's probably likely.
All right, now we've said all of this, but I want to get to a different point here that not a lot of people are talking about. Everyone right now is in outrage mode. I'm not really in outrage mode. I knew these things were going on, and
We've known for a while.
we've known for a long time. But the problem is, number one, that these things are not working. Did they stop the bombers in Boston this year?
Nope.
No, they did not. But like I said, more toddlers have killed Americans than terrorists have this year.
We've been able to show that this has been happening forever, and we can't really point out anything that's been headed off. I mean, the terrorist attacks on 9/11, we got warning for. We just didn't do anything with it.
We got warning for the stuff in Boston as well. They were actually, the Russian governments were calling, or the embassy or whatever, they were calling me like, hey, you've got some radicalized guys here. You might want to take a look. And they're like, no, we're busy. There's kids over here with signs. They've got signs. We need to shoot them with tear gas.
They're talking about something about occupying in Wall Street. We can't have that. We need to tear gas them.
Yeah. So they're too busy, paying attention to that kind of stuff and putting those kids on lists and generating data about all these kids with beards and signs.
We can't find the terrorists for all the hippies that are complaining about Wall Street.
And we don't have time to track down terrorists. We're busy beating hippies.
Citizens are upset with bankers stealing money from them. I mean,
We must beat them.
we should put them on a terrorist watch list.
So, yeah, Boston, that didn't work out. And the other thing is the policies are flawed because, on average, the policies are so vague that any one of you guys out there in the world are committing 3 felonies per day. Federal crimes, not like local crimes, federal crimes every day.
Well, we talked about the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. I mean, I think there's some absurd stuff in the terms of service on the website. So if you don't name your firstborn child Logan or something, I mean, you're already in violation of the terms of service. And that's technically illegal under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act.
Yeah, if you're under 18, you're not allowed on our website. I'm sorry. It's in the terms of service, and it has to be. And I mean it.
So there's a felony right there.
I don't want your Xbox playing ass on my website anyway. I'm not allowed to say anything. We can go to jail for that. So anyway, back to this thing. All the data they're building is creating the disposition matrix. And we've talked about this before on the show, and this is problem number 2 with all of this. It aggregates all of this data and looks for patterns. It's not like there's an individual watching everything you do, watching you masturbate on your couch with your X-bone. Guys, that's just not happening. But what is happening is they're looking for patterns, and then they're generating data, and they're sending it to an individual who then can throw a switch and kill you with the drone. And this has happened before in 2011.
Yep. And that was bad intelligence, and we were like, oops.
They were like, whoops. Yeah, that's bad.
But the important thing here is that you're going into a database that you don't have control over, and you don't have a right to face your accuser or really have any say about the data that's going into the database. And so it can be used against you, and we already see that happening.
All right, so this is kind of interesting, too. Another way to show you that this is flawed. So a German girl, she wants to come to America to visit her parents and some friends, maybe do some work. Anyway, she lands in America, and the immigration has a printout of private Facebook messages. And in these private messages, they decided that, well, it looks like you're going to be coming here and possibly working illegally. So they put her on the next plane back to Germany. So there was a human decision there. They took the data that was harvested or mined, and a human made a decision based upon that.
We don't have any idea how they got that data.
Well, yeah.
But, a Facebook private message, I mean...
whenever someone sends me anything on Facebook, I always reply with like, I do not take this seriously. If you care, send me a message elsewhere. Because I just do not take anything seriously on Facebook. Don't message me on Facebook.
You know, even Steve Wozniak weighed in on this, and that video was really interesting.
He likened us to Russia. But you guys can watch that. It's right here.
He said America has become a lot like Soviet Russia. And, you know, there are parts of this that remind me of, you know, Nazi Germany. I mean, not to invoke good one or anything, but, you know, the Stasi and some of the Stalinist Russia. And that's not good. That's really, there should not be echoes of that in America.
Again, it's the human element that worries me.
Yeah, the data is not a problem, but the human beings are definitely the problem.
Human beings with access to this data. Maybe once the singularity happens, I'll be a little bit more comfortable with it, because the way of the future is going to be everything always on, everything always monitored. And that's something that we're probably going to have to get used to unless we want to go live in the middle of nowhere. You want to live in a city, want to have a job, want to have a car, want to have a cell phone, want to have internet, want to have video game consoles in
I don't
the
think
future.
it should be illegal or frowned upon for you to have many, many internet personas. That's probably a good way to preserve privacy. Like, your computer should have an identity manager, and you can just, you know, it's like, oh, I'm an Inuit widow from 87, and, you know, I live alone, and blah, blah, blah. And you just assume that identity, and, you know, you do your stuff online.
Whatever you're into. Yeah.
I think it was an Adam Sandler song about that or something. I don't remember.
Lawrence Lessig, have you seen this? He says it's time to rewrite the internet to give us better privacy and security.
Yeah, we could go nuts with encryption. We have the technology to go nuts with encryption. A lot of this stuff that doesn't have encryption, like email, well, email's got TLS, but a lot of email still isn't encrypted. The protocol's from the 70s, where computers were too slow to do encryption.
You know, I feel like this is a necessary thing, and it may have to happen, but still, we're still fighting the wrong problem. Like I said, I think it's an ethical issue, not a privacy issue. This fights the privacy issue, but if we still have people in charge that are, you know, looking out for private interests, bottom line, and not looking out for human beings, then we still have an ethical issue there.
Well, you have to take it to the next level and reclaim your privacy by using your own encryption on everything, file storage, the whole 9 yards. And
assuming they don't have a way to break it, but
and plan on that SSL is probably compromised, so you have to work around that as best you can with, you know, proxies and things like that.
Yeah, I know that when you walk outside, you're probably on camera somewhere. Yeah. Let's talk about science, shall we?
Yeah, we ranted on that way too long.
Well, it's what's happening in the world right now, and I think a lot of people are coming at it from the wrong angle, and it's important to take into consideration the bigger picture.
If the database exists, it will be used someday. Well, think about, you know...
And it could be used at any time for anything.
Really interesting thing, did you see that George Takei weighed in on this? And he was actually rounded up during World War II and put in the...
Oh, yeah, the Japanese camp or whatever.
Yeah, in World War II, we rounded up all the Japanese citizens and put them in a camp just in case. And he's like, you know, I'm already in a database. That's what happened when the U.S. had a database of people that were from Japan. They were rounded up and put in a camp. Now the database has a lot more details. If it happened during World War II, it could happen again, right?
If anyone out there is watching this from the NSA or whatever, I'm not an anti-patriot. Just wanted to let you guys know that. I'm for the good of the people. Isn't that what we're supposed to be for?
Well, yeah. I mean, this is about, you know, what is right and what is human, not, you know, rounding up Japanese people and putting them in a camp again.
Yep. So anyway, these clouds. Look at these clouds. Have you seen these clouds? Glowing night clouds. They're continuing to spread. Very interesting. Now, something like this was first observed in 1885, just right after the eruption in Krakatoa, these glowing clouds. But now we've got the glowing clouds back.
Super volcano? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, that could be. Well, I'm not sure if anything erupted, you know, recently, but it's really cool looking. It's from cooling in the stratosphere. I want to go check them out. All right, quantum teleportation. So this has been posted up on the website here, as you can see.
This is a frustratingly light on details article from the Bohr Institute. Shame on you, Bohr Institute. Shame.
Yeah, give us some details here. What really has happened? Because before, you were still, I guess, worried. We still had to worry about the speed of light. Right now, they're saying that you can transfer data, and it's like...
It says that you can teleport information, but relativity says no. And now I'm conflicted.
Yeah, what do they mean here? It looks like there's still a laser involved.
Yeah, they're saying that they can now teleport information from one gas cloud to another, which if it really is teleporting information and you don't have to use a classical means like a laser or something to connect the two, then that is a huge, huge breakthrough, and they're going to get the Nobel Prize.
Yeah, more than that, it's going to create wormholes. We're going to be on Man.
We'll have the Ansible.
Mm-hmm.
Satellite internet service will, have no ping time.
I'm not going to comment any more on this until we get some more information out of the Niels Bohr Institute. Come on, guys. Give us a real article. Give us a paper. Maybe they're working on a paper and they're going to present it or something.
The Niels Bohr Institute. This article reads like something from Nature. The Niels Bohr Institute should be much above this.
Let some intern write this. The janitor. He was there at the time.
Everybody's on vacation and Ray's in charge of the...
He's like, I have no idea. Does what? Teleport? You guys are crazy.
I just wrote this for my blog. How did it end up here?
They stole someone else's blog. So the Supreme Court has rejected 2 patents on naturally occurring genes. Someone's trying to patent the human genome. Is that what's happening right here?
No. Well, it was. It says that if something occurs in nature, it's not patentable. But the Supreme Court did clarify and say that the stuff that goes into manipulating the stuff that occurs in nature that is man-made, that is totally patentable.
So we're going to have genes soon. What if they can inject us with these genes and then sue us for being their property or infringing on their patents? I don't even know.
No, they're saying that like if they do genetic engineering on you and you end up having the genes, they can't sue you for that. But if they find the materials in your blood that manipulate your genes into being that, then they can sue you. So if it could be explained in Star Trek terms, if you have Borg nanoprobes altering your DNA in your bloodstream, you can be sued. But if there's evidence that there was once Borg nanoprobes altering your DNA and the Borg nanoprobes are gone, then you're fine.
Well, I'm going to keep a close eye on this company. I thought it was Monsanto at first, but it's Myriad.
Yeah, their stock actually went up on the news.
Interesting. Mods are pretty cool. I play a lot of mods. And it's rare that you see a mod of a mod, especially when it's a mod that's this good of a mod. But now there's a mod of a mod that's, I guess, people are really excited about playing it.
DayZ might be fun again, but it's not DayZ.
DayZ Breaking Point. Now, DayZ Breaking Point is a huge mod. It adds like 600 weapons, rebalances the game, and adds a gazillion things that you can do. Plus, they're all private hives, so you're not going to have to deal with the regular public hives. I don't know.
In about 8 hours of playing, no hackers encountered and nobody with any extraordinary ability.
Really? Are people just still shooting first and asking questions later? But this is the thing that bothered me about DayZ. You jump in, you run around. I think I played it for maybe 2 or 3 hours. I didn't play it that much. But every person that I found, I'd be like, hey, you want to come? And I was shot in the head by the time I got to hey.
Well, that was just because
be like,
the game
hey,
is
friendly.
So...
I'm like, I don't even have anything. I don't even have a jug of water.
Well, you start out with a taser now, too, so you can actually use that and knock people unconscious, so you don't have to kill them.
Zombies be like, don't tase me, bro.
The zombies have also been toned down a bit, so you can now... They're more like Walking Dead zombies than 28 Days Later zombies.
Yeah, a lot of stuff there. E3 has been going on. Tom Clancy's The Division was really interesting looking. If you guys haven't seen that, take a look at it. I won't spoil the ending, but you want to watch the end of the video. I was thinking all the way throughout the video, I'll give you a little hint. I was thinking, wow, this dialogue is a bit too real. So just watch that video. Battlefield 4, DICE has said no mods. We're just talking about really cool mods, so I guess that's...
No mods because we're going to sell them.
Exactly. We cannot have maps generated by the public if we plan to sell maps generated by us.
$1 million.
Well, I always say like mods are going to give you an unfair advantage because they can, make the screen bright yellow so that you can more clearly see the other enemies and whatever. I don't know.
It's about freedom.
They can have their no mod stuff. I just won't play it. Watch Dogs. This guy is holding an Asus motherboard right there. See him? This was like the most interesting demo of the show for me. Watch Dogs looks really insane, so I recommend that you see that video as well. All right, let's talk a little bit about Microsoft. I got to tell you guys, I do not care about the console war at all. It's kind of fun as a PC gamer to stand back and watch the cat fight. Watch like the fur fly and the claws come out. And now even Nintendo is firing bullets because, Microsoft has been very anti-used games and anti-trading games and anti-consumer, and we're going to watch everything you're doing. And so Nintendo is like, hey, if the developers are worried about used game sales, maybe they should just make better games. Welcome to Burnville, Sony and Microsoft.
I was really surprised about the pricing, too. The Xbox is going to be $500, But look how much PC prices have come down since the Xbox 360.
Oh, we'll be definitely doing some console replacement PC builds.
We have an exciting video coming up for you guys. You should stay tuned.
Yeah. Speaking of exciting videos, this is totally different, but so what's this guy's name? Jeff Bongos or something? No, Don Matrick. He's the president of interactive entertainment and business at Microsoft. In an interview, he said probably the most ridiculous. He said like 10 of the most ridiculous things ever, but where's that one spot? It's in the middle here. You guys got to watch this video. But he says if you're worried about playing online, we already have a device for that. It's called an Xbox 360, and you can play it offline.
I'm pretty sure that in 2 or 3 days we're going to have somebody from Microsoft saying, we're sorry about that. His prescription medication was a little messed up due to a recent surgery or something like that, and he didn't know what he was saying.
Let me tell you something. Don. There's something called a PC. There's something called a PlayStation 4. There's something called a Nintendo that all have what you do not have, and they're all next-gen platforms for people who want to play next-gen games. So you have not solved the problem.
I also like that he said it was digital.
Yeah. How is it? What was it like? How is it different than the other consoles? Oh well, ours is digital.
Yeah, I don't even know what the context of that was, but it was just hilarious that was even a thing.
I want an analog console.
Yeah, if we had an analog console, it would theoretically be infinite resolution, or at least resolution down to the atoms.
I want it. It'd be awesome. Here's PlayStation. They're firing bullets.
Oh, yeah, the video? Yeah, you guys should go watch the video if you haven't seen it about how you share and trade games on the PlayStation.
And look at all the hoops they're making you jump through. I mean, you have to go and you have to see someone in person and then hand them the product. I don't know. That's a lot of hoops to jump through.
I think somebody at Microsoft was like, wow, Steam's got a good thing going on. Let's combine all the worst things about Steam with all the worst things from console gaming. And ta-da!
Let's make up some really bad ideas of our own, and maybe even we'll have the Prism box.
Prism necked.
The Prism necked. So anyway, Microsoft, they're getting a lot of backlash from this. So they hired people to go onto Reddit and praise the Xbox One.
That ended badly, as one would expect.
Yeah, because people that go on Reddit are on Reddit, and they like to share things like, hey, guess what I'm doing? I'm hired to do this.
The people on Reddit were like, you smell like you're hired. And then it turned into a mob, and then it ended badly.
Oh, it makes me just tear up inside. I don't care. Playing PC games. There's going to be a lot of people joining us in the PC world. So guys, don't be rude to them. And if you're coming from Xbox, there are certain words that we don't use in the PC world.
Should we tell them about the upcoming build video? Or should it be a surprise?
Which one, the ITX?
Yeah, well, the ITX and how we're going to use some of the budget for, some of the other thing, and then look how much stuff you get.
Oh, some of the budget for Steam? Yeah. Nah, let's keep it a surprise. But we got a build coming up, and we're going to allocate some of the budget just for games. You guys can get some amazing games for like next to nothing on PC.
Yeah, we're going to go there.
Yeah. Master Race. Turn it off. Subscribe. Hurry, quick, before it's too late.